prefer being behind the scenes. So I'm very humbled actually to be here. The last 2 days have been amazing. There's been some incredible speakers and communicators. It's always, I think, when you come to an event like this, incredibly inspiring. You know, you come in, you hear amazing stories from amazing people, and it's just, I don't know, I go away on a bit elevated, I think. So it's a really good thing, a really good experience. I just keep doing these sorts of things. When I was driving, people keep asking me what am I going to talk about. I have no idea. Maybe I don't. On the drive up here, I was meditating on how did I get here. You know, kind of we arrive in these places in life and you think, yeah, well, I'm here, and you don't really think about it. But how did I get here? Well, I got here because I connected with Steve and Sarah on the cruise in Antarctica. I went, yeah, that's right. And then how did I get there? Well, that's because I connected with Lizzie on an adventure in Africa. And I went, okay, well, how did I get there? Well, that's because I met a man called White Cloud, who was introduced to me by my business partner more than 25 years ago, I think it was. And then I thought, well, how did I meet my business partner who introduced me to William? And then it was my wife. We'd sold one of our businesses, and I think she got sick of me being at home. And she we were sitting on the lounge, and it was a Saturday morning. She puts the newspaper in front of me and says, "You probably like this, you know." I'm like, all right. So I just got up and I went and made the call. And that series of events, you know, Michelle's introduction to a newspaper thing, to a call to a person, to an introduction to somebody else, to Lizzie, got me here. And that's a direct line. And I can keep going back, but you get the idea, you know. There's big dots that sort of happen in your life that cause you to end up where you are. And I'm sure we've all got that story. We can all look back at our lives and go, here's the dots. Here's how we got here. But what is it about those dots, you know, those moments, you know? We can make any decision. I could have said, no, I don't want to meet. I won't make the call to the ad that was in the paper. Wouldn't be. Or I won't go and meet William. Or I won't. You know. But there's something, I think, that happens at points in your life where you make a choice or a decision. I call it following the white rabbit. And that choice at that moment, you just kind of know. It's like, I don't know. Like, Michelle put the paper in front of me. I literally didn't even think about it. I got up off the lounge, I walked over to my computer. I had this shitty old CV that was like, you know, and I just went, send. And I forgot about it. And like 6 weeks later, I get a call. I was on the farm mowing the lawn at the time, and I said, can you call me back? Anyway, so it was like, just things happen, you know, and we end up where we end up. But there's something about that when we look back where we can go, what is it that was unique about that? And that gives you the opportunity, I think, at that moment to also look forward and then go, okay, well, if it's following White Rabbit and if it's making choices, then how do I keep making good choices and following the White Rabbit so I get to where I really want to be at some point in the future? And I think that's a sort of an art and a science and intuition and, you know, trust and a whole range of things that come into that. But it's really powerful when you start to live your life that way. So a little bit about my background. Got bored at school, couldn't wait to leave. I was 15 and I went, I've got to get out of here. And my parents, I don't know why, but they supported my idea to go to India and make a documentary with my older, responsible brother. And that's a whole other story. Anyway, we went to the Kumbh Mela. I don't know if you know the Kumbh Mela, but it's the biggest festival on the planet. At the time I went, there was 25 million people. And it was crazy, like sadhus and Hindus and people with their heads buried under the sand and books in their arms. And one guy who had a tree growing on his arm and the roots were hanging down like this. Like, you know, I was a young kid from the entrance, you know, little fishing village, finding myself in India at Kumbh Mela and watching all this bizarre stuff. It was like mind-blowing and exciting and eye-opening because all of that's still happening out there right now on this planet. The stuff that's happening around the world is just amazing, unbelievable. So that was the start of a career in the film industry, and I made films for 12 years after that. I made over 50 documentaries that have been sold around the world to over 100 countries and 20 languages. And I then built an advertising and marketing business and worked with some of Australia's, top blue chip multinational companies. And then, I've had all sorts of experiences, like getting stuck up on a mountain pass in the Himalayas, in Tibet at 19,000 feet, the truck breaks down and it's a blizzard and we almost die, and then other experiences getting caught in a sailing boat in the Maldives and out of season monsoon hits and, we almost die, and like all of these incredible experiences, hot air ballooning across the plains of Africa and going into the jungle up into the highlands in New Guinea 40 years ago and filming tribes that, had really had very little contact with black people. And so I've had this incredible incredible experience. And as Steve said, being a serial entrepreneur, I've started businesses and sold businesses and grown businesses and helped other people start them and grow them. Had an event management and catering business and started with 2 people in the kitchen and ended up becoming one of the fastest growing, largest catering event businesses in Australia, and doing 6,000 meals a night across Sydney and, all that sort of stuff. We did the launch at Fox Studios and, had to feed 6,000 people in one afternoon. That was insane. And then we sold that, and then we started another business which was in the financial planning sector, so wealth creation. And we grew that, and it became the largest, fastest growing privately owned financial advisory wealth creation business in the country. And then we sold that, and it's just been this process, I don't know anything about any of these businesses. Well, I didn't know anything about film either. That's not even made documentaries. So, but it's just been, an amazing life, this incredible journey. And, I just look at where we are now, and I'm really grateful and humbled to be in this room and to know Sarah and Steve and to know Lizzie and to getting to know a lot of other people here. And I love it when this happens, when a group of people come together that have, there's something, a common idea or a desire or a connection or an inspiration or something that brings us together that either makes us want to be better or learn so that we can help others be better. It's kind of the motivation, I think, and it's such a powerful space to come into. I've met so many beautiful people since I've been here. It's a little bit intimidating, I'm in a room with 50 women and there's about 5 men, and it was called She Evolves beforehand, so but people keep saying, have you been to many of these? And I go, well, I do identify as a woman sometimes. I haven't. But yes, anyway, it's great to be immersed in this, But another idea that I've been playing with is this idea of evolution, of like, where did it all begin? Like I kind of just gave you my little, dots, but we're in a universe that's theoretically, best thinking today is it's about 15 billion years old. And it started with this explosion apparently, and it's been expanding ever since. And it's been tumultuous, but it hasn't been easy. It's been planets exploding into suns and galaxies colliding with galaxies and suns exploding and, balls of gas, condensing and becoming suns. Like 15 billion years, 6 billion years ago, Earth came into form. And then, so the 6 billion years has been this process that's got us to where we are today. And, we've had, 5 or 6 extinction events. It hasn't been this, smooth sailing journey. It's been this incredibly tumultuous time. And through all of that, if you imagine that, the idea of that is that it started at the small and it exploded and now it's moving out. The universe is expanding through space and time. Space and time came into reality at that moment. And now we live in this universe that's expanding in space and time. And so where are we in that right now? We're all right now on the outer edge of that evolution, that expansion, that 15 billion years for me to arrive here in this moment, all that change and tumultuous, background stuff. It's mind-blowing, really, when you think about how did we get here. But the amazing thing about where we are right now is that we are on that outer edge of possibility, the outer edge of what could be. Like, we can look back and we can go, oh, there's the dots, that's how I got here. But we also, as humans right now, who are the end result of 15 billion years of evolution, who have the ability to think and create and imagine and dream, we sit there on the edge of possibility, all of us, right now. We're on that edge. Tomorrow doesn't exist. Space and time hasn't expanded yet into that. We are there. So as we stand on that edge of possibility, knowing as we look back that choices we make have helped us to get here, that we can stand there and dream. We can imagine. We can think about what's possible. And the amazing thing about EvolveX is from that space, we can manifest and create and make things real. Look, it's amazing. We have the potential, we have this amazing potential, all of us, to make tomorrow something new for ourselves or for others. And it's been that journey that I've been on that sort of arrived where I've arrived here, and I stand on that edge and I keep looking at it. I've got some young kids, they're not kids anymore, they're young adults, but I've had an incredible life. I'm sure all of us have had incredible lives. Quite possibly wouldn't be here if you hadn't had an incredible life. So we're very blessed, we've had this incredible life. So as we stand here and we look at the future, it's like, well, for me, I go, well, how can I make a difference? I've had a great life, I've been successful, I've done all the things, But now what do I do? What do I do with that? How do I manifest something into the future that's going to make a difference on the planet and make it better for my kids, better for their kids? And it feels like it's incumbent upon me to do that, to become responsible for making a difference on the planet. So from that idea, this business was born, which is called Making a Difference. And Make a Difference is, it's called MAD. MAD Ventures is the name of the business. And MAD is obviously an acronym for Make a Difference. It's like, how do we as intelligent people that are passionate about what we're doing, how do we channel energy and opportunity and finance and money into businesses and people that are passionate about doing things that are going to solve big problems on the planet? That's what we're interested in. So we look at these big problems, we look at the future and these massive problems that are on the planet, and we know they're there. It's not that's not a dream, it's a nightmare. And we kind of look at that and think, all right, it's so big. And I often get depressed. I look at that and I think, how my kids are going to make it through this journey? It's like food, war, this, that, politics, corruption, all this stuff. And I think, all right, it's too overwhelming. But when I go out and I start meeting amazing people like I've met here, and I talk to incredible entrepreneurs and visionary people that are passionate, that have seen a problem and have got this idea of, I can actually do something, I can make a difference, I can fix that. When I see that, I get so inspired. So I go from this woe, doom, gloom to, wow, the human species is incredible. We can do anything. we can create anything. And so I love that. And so that's been my passion, finding and supporting entrepreneurs and visionary people that are building, creating things and making a difference on the planet. In the areas of food security, pollution, water, energy, the environment, education, health, big sort of themes that are really important on the planet, I think, in the next 20 years. And there are some amazing people out there doing some absolutely incredible things on the planet. And the challenge is that capital in this country, capital around the world, unfortunately, gets misdirected, I think, to things that are destructive, not creative, and to useless things. And it's like, if you're a vision, I see entrepreneurs as artists. They're like the musicians, the creators, the visionaries, the innovators. How do we support them? How do we see these people that are passionate about, helping change the planet and make a difference? How do we find a way to wrap support around that, capital, people, resources, energy, and help them on that journey? Because often so many people that go through that, and for whatever reason the capital runs out or there's a problem, usually what happens is those businesses collapse. Not only do we lose the business, but we lose these incredible entrepreneurs. Like they get so big, it's like, unless you've got that grit to get up and go again, we lose so much. And it's such a shame. So we developed this fund, it's called MAD. We started with a blank piece of paper, there's two sides, and we went, I'm getting the line up. We went on one side.
In a loving way.
In a loving way, yes. It was this, not that. So, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm also an investor. So I drew a line down a piece of paper with my business partner and said, all right, if we're going to create a fund, how do we make it the best possible fund we can for the investors? And how do we make it the best possible fund we can for the entrepreneurs? And so we set about building this fund. Took us 2 years, had to get a lot of legal advice, get a lot of structuring advice. We've now got an ESD fund, which is an early stage venture capital limited partnership fund, which has got a government approval for lots of tax incentives. So the investors get, when they put money in, a 10% discount on the cash that they put in, plus a 10% annual return on the money that they put in, tax-free, paid quarterly, plus tax-free capital growth on the investments, on the exit, whenever they might be, usually 5, 7 plus years. And we're supporting companies that are in that valley of death stage in Australia. There's a lot of money for the early stage and there's a lot of money for the late stage, but in the middle it's really tough. So we want to get in there and help those businesses through that gap. And then on the other side, we designed it so the capital was very friendly for the companies that we're investing in. Because most entrepreneurs, like most artists, somewhere along the way get screwed. They're kind of right at the end of the chain. And so a lot of capital tends to come in and dilute the owners so far down that at the end of it, they're like, well, I'm just working for the man, there's nothing left in this. So we've found a way to bring capital into the business that helps those entrepreneurs with the money they need to do what they need to do now, without the dilution that would normally come with that, and so that they've got more incentive and more motivation to grow. And we've just done a deal with another big government body called the NRFC, and they're going to put a sidecar fund next to ours and match us dollar for dollar. So we'll have 100 million in our fund. There'll be another 100 million in the fund next to us. That gives us $200 million to invest in businesses in Australia that are making a difference on the planet and helping us to change the future. So I guess I'd leave this today with, if you're sitting on the edge of possibility right now, we all are, and you start to look forward and you go, what can I be, do, have, create on the planet? Just start making good choices. Where you are today is a barometer of the choices you've made to get here. And just focus on that and go, all right, this is what I want to create. I'm just going to do the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, and I'm going to make really good choices along the way. And you'll get there, and you'll do that. But I would really encourage everyone to also look at how you can make a difference, you know, in your own life by coming to events like this and learning and growing and developing, and then becoming an inspiration and helping to make a difference in other people's lives. So,